Welcome back to the Wealth Guide podcast. Today, the Riker team are going to unpack all things super, timing, and strategy. Also, what most people are getting wrong. So what are the topics we're going to talk about? Is the end of financial year for super really June, or should it be now? Is your super set up properly? Is it actually working for you? And of course, the buzzword of the season, super payday. What does it mean for you, the impact and the opportunity? Actually, I'm not normally nervous, but I feel quite nervous today.
It's weird, loud. Right?
It really is. It's very foreign, very foreign. All right, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 63 of the Wealth Guide podcast, our first recording for 2026. How does everyone feel?
I'm excited.
Yeah?
Very excited.
2026. Getting older.
Getting wiser, though.
Getting wiser. Absolutely, absolutely. So for today, our podcast, what we're going to talk about is, I've already forgotten, it's super timing and strategy and what most people get wrong. So one of the things that we see is every year it's the same pattern. June gets closer because we are getting close to June. Deadlines are looming and suddenly people are panicking, they're reacting, and they need to do something with their super. So what is the smarter super decisions is what we want to talk about today. When should it actually happen? Is it June or is it sooner? And when is the moment that everything can change? Yeah. So let's unpack all that. And also too, let's unpack when super actually gets lost. So when is that last minute decision? When are you missing out on opportunities? And I know that you guys as a team, all we hear every day in everything we do, super is a part of what we do. So apart from your superpowers, today, just for clarity, we're talking about superannuation. All right. So let's open it up. Who's got something to add?
Well, you know, Mal, super is something that we always discuss in the office all the time, but doesn't mean it's super sexy, is it?
No.
It's conversation. People say, hey, I want to look at my super and get excited, you know? So hopefully we can change that today.
Yeah, I feel like super gets sexy as we get older, right? Because it's like it's going to be the new dress I'm wearing for a very long time, very soon. Absolutely. But you're right. It is something that feels very distant. It's ignored. And again, it's not something people are engaging with and it's quite reactive.
Yeah, the funny thing is a lot of the time when I'm speaking to clients and I'm asking them, do you have super? Yeah, I do. Do you know where it is? Oh, not really. Do you know how much you have? Nah. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But if that money was in the bank account, they'll have their eyes all over it.
Well, especially when when you're working, life gets into the way. You know, you're doing all other things, but you're not doing super, right? You're just sticking in the background, and no one really looks at it, do they?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I guess the question to ask is, what happens when people leave their super behind? And it's happening every day, right? So you know, it gets pushed down the priority list. People are waiting too long. And it actually costs us, right? Because, I'll segue for a moment. So if we look at social media, and I actually find it very infuriating, the more I see it is everything we see.
That's unlike you, infuriating? Wow.
Listen, I'm as calm.
I don't know you.
Stop it. No, but it is. And when I say what I'm about to say, I'm sure you'll share my sentiment. So the things that I see on media all the time at the moment, whether it be socials, LinkedIn, whatever, any conversation around super has a picture of an aging couple. And that is where I think this stigma of why super goes into the distance is done, because the association with the imagery, and we're all visual people in today's world, right? So why is that? Why are we not getting a young person out of high school going, start your super now?
That's a fair point.
Super doesn't scream attention, does it? Like, your bank account does, your mortgage does. And I, like right now, paid my school fees for my kid. So that certainly screams a lot of attention that I've got to look into. But super just sits quietly and it's in the background. No one really thinks about it. So and hence it gets postponed, right? We just go, I'll deal with that later.
100%.
Too hard basket.
You're right about that. I didn't think about that. The advertising side, you see always a white hair colored couple walking on the beach. Relates to it's interesting. Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
And again, I find it very infuriating because, thankfully I've come on this journey with you guys and I have, 20-something-year-olds and I already talk to them now. Like, I want you to gear yourself now. I want you to prepare yourself now that a certain percentage of your income from today as a 20-something-year-old is what you sacrifice into super, even if it's just 2% of their earnings. And if they wire themselves for that now, forever,
It'll make a massive difference.
it makes a massive, and we're not
Tremendous
talking,
difference.
50 grand, 100 grand.
Yeah, we're talking hundreds.
We're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And if it's something you never see and you are wired for it from day one, it's we're all wired that our super part of our income is already yeah. So I guess let's move back from that and let's talk about the missed opportunities. So, you're in through life, you're in that middle stage. What are the missed opportunities by people not looking at their super when it comes to timing?
Yeah, look, I think with superannuation, given it's an asset that's built up for a long period of time, whilst you get onto it at a younger age, it means whatever you've been able to do better, where, for example, whether it's adding some additional funds in there, reducing the costs, putting a better investment structure in place. If you're in your early 20s, this is going to compound now potentially for the next
100%.
40 years.
100%.
And then it doesn't make a difference of 100,000 or 50,000. We're talking about hundreds of thousands. And I've done it so many times for a lot of my younger clients, where the biggest one I've seen, which I think from memory, this was placing like $50 a week in there extra and reducing costs and so forth. But he was better off in his super balance by around about 800,000 at retirement.
I was going to say, because I did the math of, at $50 extra a week, and this was as a mid 40-year-old, worked out to be by retiring age of 65, another 600 grand.
Yeah.
So, it's a very small amount, and I think I was just talking yesterday with Ricky and we were talking about coffee. And it's interesting, and it's never going to happen. I'm never going to not have my coffee. I need it. I will lose the will to live. I have to survive all of you every day. However, when you think about it, the average coffee is $5.50. I buy at least one coffee 7 days a week. We worked out the math yesterday. What was it? $1,900 a year that I spend just on purchasing one coffee a day. Then my husband does the same thing. My 2 elder daughters do the same as well. We're talking nearly $8,000 a year we spend after tax dollars on coffee. Imagine if you put that $8,000 a year. You don't drink coffee. You should be putting it in your super.
So the result is you're not going to drink coffee as much. Is that the case?
It's one a day. Come on, give me something. It's that or alcohol, right? Alcohol's a lot more expensive.
Well, you got to live your life too, right? You can't just, adding these costs certainly puts in perspective, right? What are we missing out? What's the opportunity cost of that $8,000 gone? But you also at the same time, you got to also be able to enjoy life.
No, and I agree with you wholly. And I should preface with, it's not about sacrificing the coffee and not spending the coffee. But if we can spend $5 a day and you work it out that just as an individual, it's $2,000 a year, you spend an extra $5 a day and put that in your super, and that's just $2,000 a year. So that's, $25 a week or $35 a week. It all is incremental and adds up, right? So that's the sort of things we're talking about. But let's just sort of lean in, if we can, on, we're coming up to end of financial year. Let's talk about timing and strategy. Someone that has an established super fund, what should they be doing? What should they be thinking about? And I know one of the biggest things we talk about in the office is tax optimization. And tax optimization is not just your income, it's your super. So, you guys are the experts. Let's talk through that. Help me out with that.
Well, whenever I'm talking to the clients, it's not just the end of financially. It's got to be, you got to be able to leverage it. It's about leverage and timing. So it's not just get the money into super, which is important part. 30 June's coming. We might be able to claim that on tax. So that's great. But when that money goes in, what is that money doing? Where is it going? Is it investing in the way that you want to invest? Or is it just going in and sitting in a cash account?
Or is it disappearing in fees in the thin air?
Well, how often do we hear that?
That's right.
We partner with a gazillion brokers. How often does a broker ring us and say, I spoke with my client, went through their application, we touched on super, and they're like, don't talk about my super. I pay more in fees than I see in growth. I mean, that is an alarming...
That's a red flag on its own. That's
right.
Hey, we should be talking to someone.
Correct. Absolutely. So, to all our brokers out there, that's a red flag on its own. You should be referring your clients to us. But on a separate note, that also then comes down to, we talk about it being in the distant, being ignored. And while it's ignored, when someone puts it in front of you, you're aware of it, but you're still not doing anything with it. So, I guess our roles in this space is, number one, how do we educate people? And then what are the strategies that you work when someone comes with you? So give me, all of you do this every day. So give me an example of, one person that's come with you, just one of you, where their super balance is at an ordinary level or, more in fees than it is in growth. What sort of change have you made and how does that look?
Okay, I can take this one. So a lot of the time, especially a lot of my clients, look, I've got a mix between the younger clients as well as some clients approaching retirement. Look, I think more or less it's understanding, okay, what is our parameters and what is our objectives around retirement and how soon do we want to retire?
Yeah.
And then we start understanding, okay, well, look, we've got some super at the moment. Now let's actually break it down. Let's understand, okay, are we on track to meet our retirement goals?
Yeah.
And if we're not, what are some things that we can actually put in place to make sure we get you there, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't involve too much work in the sense that by putting minimal amounts in there, stripping down as fees as much as we potentially can, and having the correct asset allocation and investment spread in place. All those little things that actually work together. And then when we talk about from a timing perspective, like previously, how it all compounds, it then helps the client get them back on track.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas when you leave it later in life, and you're a lot more closer towards retirement, then there's a lot more work and effort that actually needs to be done.
Compromise and a sacrifice.
Correct. Because then we don't have time on our side at that stage. So
I've got a similar but sort of different view where when I sit down with the client, it's more about the tool. I look at it as it's another tool, it's another investment vehicle, if you will, to use on achieving your outcome. So I had a sole trader client, did not want to put money into super, which is fair, and he wanted to build, even though super is a great tax structure. But then we structured it in a way to make sure that it pays for his protection.
Yeah. So
He's building his property goal outside, he's buying his properties outside, but doesn't want to focus on it, which is fair. So it's just another tool. We pay insurances through it. It gets better tax deduction. He puts contribution into it, gets another tax deduction. So it's just another tool on what the client wants to achieve.
Yeah. That leads in on the question, right, is what is the right setup for you? You know?
Well, it's going to come to individual cases like Ricky's client, Dean's client. As advisors, we need to adapt to that and make it relatable.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it there. Educate is one of the key piece things. We tend to go in our world sometimes the clients fall asleep.
There are so many comments I want to make about sitting in a room with you, Jack, and falling asleep. But none of them are appropriate.
On the serious note, we have to be cautious of going back to what they're trying to achieve in that sense without losing them in that process.
Yeah, look, you know, one of the things, and again, obviously I'm not an advisor and I've come into this journey, like a lot of clients that come to sit with you. I've got the blessing of working in the profession now, but I've come into it a lot later. Eyes are wide open, and I'm learning so much every single day. And one of the things that I've, sort of starting to learn, and I'm really eager to lean in on this with you is, everyone gets money, they've got cash, they've got savings, they've got bonus, whatever it is, and we put it all in our bank account and it sits there. But shouldn't we be using our super as a bank account? Because correct me if I'm wrong, you can take money out. If you're putting voluntary funds into your super, you can take them out. So why not use that as a savings account? Why not leverage it in a different way where, if it's got short-term, medium-term goals, it might end up staying there permanently because if you see it compounding and growing, you'll go, oh yeah, just leave it. But can you not leverage your super this way?
You certainly can, but look, there's a lot of cashing restrictions. So you can't. I don't think you can use another bank account.
Why not?
Yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, unfortunately, the whole purpose of super is designed for retirement.
Yeah.
So it's always long-term view. It's got nothing to. Well, primarily, government has announced some schemes now where first-home buyers can use it.
Yeah.
Where they can put money in, get tax deduction, and use that for their deposit, which is a great scheme and helps the first-home buyers get into the market.
Yeah.
just like a bank account.
Just like a bank account. But
You were right, Mel.
I was, yeah.
there's a cat.
I knew there was something that I'd listened to in the office. Absolutely, absolutely. But, okay, so let's lose the bank account idea. Okay, I'll come back to that one. I'll do some.
We'll put it to the Prime Minister or the Treasurer.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Don't start. There will be another raft of rules and stuff.
Yeah, our Prime Minister go, oh yeah, it's a great idea. Anyway, so the one thing that I do know with super, and I'd love to unpack this with you as well, is you guys have a different lens. And I think sometimes you forget, you do this every day. So your awareness, your attention to the detail in this area is forefront. But bearing in mind, for most people, it's not. So what I'm leaning at when I say this is I know that when I'm young, I get my super form to fill in, I tick, 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 and off I go, and it just sits there. So, how many people have got supers that, you can have high, moderate, low, high risk, low risk, whatever it might be. But so many people set and forget. And just like our life evolves, you're single, you're young, you get a career, you get married, you have kids. And obviously everyone's journey is different, but just generalizing, you get a home loan, you do all that. So your commitments change, your lifestyle changes. The way your super is invested should also change. Am I not correct to say that?
Correct.
And I don't think that necessarily happens for most people. It's just set and forget. We tick a box, this is our super fund.
Look,
and off we go.
a lot of the time, whilst you're younger, you've got a considerable amount of time until you retire. That's the time where you can financially afford to take risks inside within the super side of things, and you can go a little bit more aggressive. But then when you get later towards your retirement journey, or approaching your retirement journey, I should say, this is where obviously we can't potentially afford to take on as much risk. For example, like what's happening within the market at the moment now, it's all about basically just adjusting it based on your current timing and your stage in life. So,
but how many people actually do that though? That's the question.
I mean, you're right. It's technically speaking, that's the traditional way of how we look at things when we approach retirement. Sometimes though, that changes based on timelines in retirement. Because if you think about it, someone retires at 60, they got another 20 years, 25 years to go.
Yeah.
Right? So longevity risk is another thing we really look at as advisors. Well, traditionally, we would slow down a little bit, take a little bit of risk.
I'm hearing this, and you know what I'm visualizing? A roulette table and going red or black.
It's not so much as that, but
it's red or black. Which one do we want to do?
I got my money on red.
Red. Let's go red all day.
But investment certainly plays a part
Yes,
on how you want to choose and what return you can expect.
Yeah.
I had a client in their 30s want to just put in cash. So look, it all comes down to education, one part, and ideally, like Jack said, as a textbook answer, as you're young, you can afford to take risk. As you sort of get towards retirement, you sort of dial it down a little bit. However, I've got clients on both spectrum. I've got a retiree who's in a high growth portfolio, and it just comes down to your personal risk appetite too, how comfortable you are with taking that risk.
Yeah, and I love that. And what you're saying is all great, but the consideration that I'm suggesting here is these are the clients that are sitting with you. What about all the people who don't have a financial advisor, who just walk through life step by step by step, tick those boxes when they first start their career journey, and it just stays that way forever? And there's a very big, percentage of the population that are doing that. Like, whilst that might look great on the surface, what's really missing underneath? What are these people missing out on? So think about all the clients you're not seeing that are not thinking they can get a financial advisor, even though everyone should and can. But there are so many that don't, and there's a stigma and a myth around all of that, which we'd obviously love to bust all of those. But people who are just, if someone's listening to our podcast today and they're just a general person listening and they've got super that they ticked 15 years ago, so they're only in their mid-30s, they've got plenty of time, what should they be doing different?
Well, if they leave it to default option, Mel, they're not really leveraging it, aren't they?
Correct.
They're just using it as a default option. They're just leaving it to the super fund to decide what happens to them.
Right.
I would suggest the client to start taking action about it, because super after your home would be one of your biggest assets in retirement.
Yeah. Yep.
So if that's going to be your biggest asset, I would say, you want to nurture it early on. You want to look at what investments you are in. You want to understand how the money is invested, because investments, God, we can have a whole podcast on that, can't we? There's active investment, passive investment, there's ETFs, you can rattle them all out. However, I would suggest client to take active interest from early on.
Yeah, right. And then Mel's favorite words is it takes a minute, right, to educate that client. And it's not just stems from super like what you just said. Those learnings you can take outside super and how to invest. Use it to your advantage. So it's one of the key learning things is that in isolation, super is a structure that we can use and then leverage off that to learn other assets.
Correct.
Outside super fund.
Yeah, so it's an education base.
Correct.
Right?
It's just a tool to get there. And then, okay, how do we stem with other things that we need to help that client? Yes, it's going to be very important, superannuation.
Yeah, well, it's probably the most important savings that we'll have.
Takes a minute, like you said.
It takes a minute. But, and again, it comes down to those blind spots for people. It's what they don't see, they don't know, they don't touch it. And, you know, we spoke earlier about that young person, even if they just did 2% of their salary or $50 a week, you know, the 600 to 800 to even potentially, if you're really young, $1 million of difference in your super balance by retirement. What about if we talk about like and we all see these high income households, right? They're financially capable. You know, there's surplus funds. I know that I say this with tongue in cheek. And my face is probably getting red because I'm probably fitting into this category. What we're missing out on, like, what are we not doing? You know, what are you seeing in those areas, or what's your advice or suggestion in those areas?
From experience, I've seen a lot of the time there's a lot of missed opportunities, whether it be from tax maximization strategies that clients could potentially be doing, whether it's even structuring super, but even just putting a super aside, just overall wealth accumulation.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I've actually seen, and I don't know, I think the boys potentially may have seen the same thing, is I've seen clients that are on a very, very good income.
Yeah.
And a lot of their income is actually being consumed by lifestyle.
Yeah.
So a lot of their money is just fizzled away in things that is crazy. And look, I always say to my clients, like and Ricky alluded to that earlier as well, where I want my clients to have a good life. Like I want them to enjoy.
Well, that's the whole idea, right?
Correct.
How do you do it all?
Correct. But it's about basically they're doing everything within moderation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So still factor in, okay, well, look, I'm going to enjoy today, but also at the same time as well, we're going to plan for tomorrow. So,
well, I think, you know, my takeaway from that is how do you work on balance and performance in the same breath and have both?
It's really an open conversation, with an open heart conversation with your clients to have. It's not easy to have, especially when you're sitting with a couple and they think they're on the same page. And sometimes when you unpack these things and hold on, we are earning quite well, but you know what? What do we show for it? And just having that open conversation starts from that.
Yeah.
It is challenging.
And the large income family or a good family, right, earning moderate to high level income, you also see that they're optimizing everything else. You know, they're buying investment property. They
100%.
are doing everything. Their salary was sacrificing, or they might be doing everything else, but they just ignore super. They ignore that one of the biggest tax-effective structure that the Australian government provided us. They just gets ignored because it's just out of sight. I can't touch and feel it.
Yep.
I can't access it.
Well, it's that immediate gratification. You can immediately see it. You can immediately see your property go up in value, your mortgage come down. You immediately see your tax return from negative gearing. You see those, you know, we spoke about payday lending in a previous episode, and that immediate gratification of what can I see instantly. Yeah. And, you know, we live in a world of everything is instant. So that slow burn is something that's become very foreign. And it's like, how do we return to that? Or not even return to that, but how do we make it a forefront and go, that slow burn is your biggest wealth plan? So...
Well, it is relatable to people, isn't it? Like we live in our houses, right? The property price is a perfect example. You leave it there for a while and then in 10, 15 years' time, you see the value compound, don't you?
Yeah.
So superannuation is no different. It's still the investment. You leave it there, you pay attention to it like anything else, and it will deliver results.
100%. So, you know, we talk about super, we talk about gaps, we talk about all those things. One of the things that I didn't know, and again, you know, I'll lean in on the fact that your clients that sit with you, they know, you know, because you do this for a living. Do you know, I didn't know this, and I'm sure that I'm not the minority. I didn't know you could do insurance in your super. So many people don't have life insurance. So many people don't have income protection because it's, you know, deemed as being expensive or all the bits that go with it. Talk us through this, like have a little bit of an education about super and insurance together.
The most common one I get is that, if I lose my job, am I covered?
Yeah. We all have that fear.
Correct.
But it's knowing how we can fund it.
Exactly. Again, it goes to education piece and how do you explain to that client? Well, I flip that and then reframe this. Well, if you lost your job, if you're an able-bodied person or an insane or not sane person,
most people
like so they're able to find a job and they think, okay, that's not covered. Well, if you're not able to work due to illness or injury, that's a bigger cost to you, right? And there's ways, and we explain, we can get that through super fund structure and things of that nature. And they light up. Oh, I didn't know we can do that.
Right.
So
One of the common one I get when you really sit down with a client and talk about insurance, because they can see it on their statement, right? But what they don't realize, the default cover keeps decreasing in value as you get older.
Right.
Guess what? The
And
premiums
you
go
pay
up.
more. And you pay more. So that logic, that inverse logic,
there's been a thing on Current Affairs, ABC News, that beneficiaries thought they had insurances for their spouses that passed away. Little they know, like you said, it
gone down
reduced
to
in
zero.
value.
Yep.
100%.
And they thought they were covered.
Yeah. And even like young people, right? I know most young people aren't interested in insurance, but if you've got a high risk role or, a very volatile role, insurance is still important. But I was reading something on Money Smart or on ASIC yesterday where if you're young and early in your career and your super balance hasn't hit a certain threshold yet, your insurance isn't even applicable. So I know that's very early and premature and unlikely, but it's still a thought.
But the other thing that I probably say as well, which I see this all the time, is two things. So first thing is, especially when we do with a lot of brokers, they'll be speaking to their clients around protection and insurances.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, the clients will turn around and say, well, look, I've got some cover in my super fund, right? And you look at it, they might have income protection. They might be making $130,000, $140,000 a year.
Yeah.
Their income protection is for $1,000 a month. What's that going to do, right? Their life insurance might be for $200,000 and they've got $1 million mortgage.
Right.
The other thing that I see a lot of the time as well is, for myself personally, when I do talk to clients, it's more about, because look, at the end of the day, clients don't know what they don't know. People don't know what they don't know.
Correct.
So it's all about having a conversation with them and just trying to see, like, one of the things that I unpack with my clients is around their current incomes and what their living expenses looks like, and how much can they physically save every week, fortnight, month, right? Now, if you've got a husband and a wife both working, let's just say the wife's on 70, 80,000, the husband's on 120.
Why is the husband earning more?
Oh, he's working full-time and the wife's working part-time to look after the kids. I don't know. Who knows? Who
Yeah,
knows?
we'll talk about that another day.
Okay.
It's 2016.
That's it.
The
that's
husband
it.
staying at home.
It could be the other way around. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Now, what you would see is that they're both working, they're both earning an income, but they're only saving $1,000 a month, right? And in that instance, if the husband wasn't able to work or the wife wasn't able to work, then that family will be financially
Oh,
impacted.
it's a disaster.
Right? And then by showing them that as a live example, people start to think to themselves, well, okay, well, do you know what? You've actually got a point, right?
Yeah.
It's around the awareness.
Well,
piece.
there's a couple of things I can think of there, Dean. Like going back to the brokers, like the brokers we work with, and that's the common objection they get when they talk about protection. It's like, oh yeah, I've got it in my super. Don't worry about it.
Correct.
But then the client failed to realize what are they covered for, and going back to the fact that it's also decreasing at the same time, and maybe it's not enough. So
Yeah.
the broker that we work with, they're very good in recognizing that, and because they've given the client a massive loan, in their best interest duty, they do then refer the client to us to go, hey, please just have a chat. It's on me. Go have a chat. At least you can get a better outcome out of it.
Yeah.
And going back to the second point of Dean, it's when we see those couple with the different income gaps, the couple or the person with a primary or higher income, they go, well, we want to tend to insure more. But then they sort of ignore their partner.
Yep. But
then you also got to understand, that's where the thing I had to talk to a client about was, yes, you earn more, and if you are offline, it would have a big impact. Equally, at the same time, your partner
Correct.
is supporting your household. If they go offline,
You
That's
stop
right.
working.
you
too.
can't work. So
Yeah,
it's
a
also
team
the important
package,
part.
right? Yeah, absolutely. And then if we lean in on that, you've got one partner who is at home looking after kids for a period of time or having a lower income, and there's a bigger gap in their super, right? So I don't think most people realize that even on your own income as the higher income earner, or it doesn't matter which one of you it is, but you can sacrifice some of your income into your partner's super. And again, we've got a tax optimization opportunity. And there's all these different things around super. And obviously today's episode is about super, strategy, tax, and timing. Like, these are all those kind of things. And again, my ignorance is obvious, but can people buy an insurance policy outside of super, but fund it with part of their super?
Yes,
They certainly can.
certainly can.
How many people know this? I know I didn't. And again, you talk about a lot of people go, oh, it's expensive to get insurance, bits and pieces. You've got a super bank account sitting there that can
There
fund
you
your
go.
insurance. See,
Super bank
I knew I
account.
could use it for something.
You use it for
exactly.
insurances.
So
Not to go off topic, but
Yeah.
there's another part of super that doesn't get discussed very often. So yes, we talk about investment, we talk about fees, we talk about insurance, but one of the part I feel is equally important is the nominations in the account. Like your super sits outside of your
Yes.
will, right? So it's not part of the probate, it's not part of anything.
Correct.
And people fail to recognize how powerful that can be, especially blended families.
Yes.
And you want to nominate whoever you nominate in your super is the person who would get that money.
Yeah.
If it's a binding nomination and it just gets ignored. How many
Yeah.
times have we seen where there's no nomination or they're separated but the ex-partner is still there?
So this is why I'm laughing, because there's nothing funny about what you're saying, but I do have a friend who is on their third marriage and their first wife is still the nominated
There you go.
beneficiary
Yeah, just-
on their superannuation
I can
fund.
just imagine her face when she finds out.
Well, she'll be
happy.
ecstatic.
Wow.
But, I don't know about wife number 2 or
Yeah,
3
she
that
won't
he
be
actually
happy.
had children with. Because he had no children with his first wife. But he does have children with the other 2. But everything is to the first wife. Look, I'm sure there'll be a legal battle on hands. Let's watch Channel 9.
but
On your example, Mel, if it's a binding nomination, the other 2 partners cannot say anything. It would go to the first partner.
There you go. As I said, there is nothing funny about it, but sometimes you've just got to laugh. All right, let's talk about super, but let's talk about it. Oh, bless you, Jack. Are you
Sorry.
okay?
Yep.
Did you
It's
take
fine.
any Manuka honey?
I did.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent.
Case of the man flu.
Clearly
Alright.
not working.
Word of the month. Payday Super.
Oh, how exciting.
It'll be interesting.
Is it really? What it changes? So what does it actually improve is what I want to understand. And what does it not fix? Because I have a lot of thoughts on this, which unfortunately Ricky got to hear my whole wrath of commentary on it. And, obviously the focus on Payday Super is why does this early awareness matter so much? And even if there's small changes. So what are they? So
Well, from 1 July, government has changed. Well, at the moment, the super contributions have to be made by the end of the quarter. That's they have to be made by end of quarter, 28 days after the end of the quarter.
yeah.
So what's been happening is government been looking at it, and there has been many instances where the employer hasn't paid the super
Yeah.
contribution. So in order to combat that, they've come up with this Payday Super is when you get paid, the super contribution should also
Yeah.
go into your account. So that's the whole premise, that's the whole idea behind it.
Yeah.
Does it fix the issue that you're talking about? Probably not.
Yeah, and this is what I want to debate on because I know this is going to be quite heated, this conversation. And I know I'm interrupting you and I do
No, that's
apologize. But, Ricky's like, it's really great and it's this and it's that. And I go, well, hang on. As a person who runs a business, obviously you understand that from your cash flow, knowing that the commitment is done, it's serviced, it's actioned. But that's all underneath, right? And that's a business administration thing. For me as an individual, my pay slip looks no different. And if you look at
Correct.
everything in the media where it talks about better visibility, it's now weekly, what does that mean to me? It means nothing. What's going to be different in my daily behavior? I'm not downloading my super statement every week. I'm getting my pay slip every week. My pay slip already shows my super allocation. So what's different? Where is it creating more awareness? What is this, and again, I understand the obvious part of it, but for an individual person, what is different in their world that's going to make them pay more attention to their super than what their pay slip already does?
Yeah, and unfortunately, the hard truth is that people won't really look at it.
This is my point.
And that's the unfortunate side of it. But
I agree and disagree. Like to a point where, right, if you're not doing it right now, it's not going to change. But I do like the idea. A, it provides visibility. So if you do log into your account, you can now see weekly, like you would see your bank account, your pay getting
Yeah.
is
deposited.
people going to really look at it? Really?
But at least it creates an awareness.
Awareness is probably the word I would use.
And
Correct.
it would create that, okay, well then from there, I would hope and imagine people would go, okay, I'm now taking active interest in my account.
You'd like to hope.
And I hope it's not sitting in a cash account and giving me 3% return where other asset classes are giving me 12, 15% return.
Correct. And I buy into the fact that by doing it weekly, just like your home loan or your car loan, the more frequently you pay, the less
Yes.
interest you pay. Obviously, the reverse on your super, the more frequently you pay, the more interest you earn, right? Because that compounding on the higher balance it's submitted sooner is compounding quicker and faster and what have you. So, with that said, if people are actively, it would be really interesting if you got sent your super balance more frequently, even if it's by email, rather than just going, oh, we're paying weekly now. It's going to give you better visibility. I don't know how people's daily actions are going to change unless it's a case of, as we say, physically looking at your super, which I know I don't. And I see it every year. I open the letter and I'm like, ugh, those fees.
It's the
When you're closer towards retirement, you'll be looking at it every week.
But it helps as a
You guys
starting
have to remind
point.
me.
The Payday Super is a starting point. I believe there's more to be done around that to create more awareness, increase it as time goes by.
Yeah.
You know, such as tax. What do you get? Oh, my balance is this. What do you get out of it? You know, there has to be some sort of, I guess, other things, incentive for us, the general public, to look at it more, I guess.
Other
Yeah.
things being equal, I still feel it's a good idea.
It is a good
because
idea.
Absolutely.
A good
Okay,
step.
it
Yeah.
helps.
It's a good
It
step.
helps the member to be
The
honest.
employer might go bankrupt and you
Oh my
may not
God.
be able to get
That's
your
right.
employer contribution by the end of the quarter. And
Yeah.
for the employer, it's also a big burden that's got
Yes.
to be paid.
Yeah.
So now it's the cash flow management, what you alluded to, is better.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, you can't fix bad habit. But I hope that the rhythm of that, seeing the investment to the super, I think that would compound the client's interest and the balance,
definitely.
the dollar cost averaging,
Yeah.
all we talk about.
Yeah.
So I think it's still a step in the right direction.
I
But
think it's great.
more needs to be done, though.
Yeah, and look, I see the positives of it, and I very much am a fan of it. Is there are so many people that miss out on their super because employers don't pay it. They go bankrupt. They never see it.
Yep.
And, you know, the ATO, I think, does cover it for them and fines the employer. But still, that compounding
Takes time.
growth you miss out
Yeah.
on, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you would hope that Payday Super, and obviously in line with everything else we're talking about, but in particular, Payday Super, seeing that compounding growth faster, creates the desire and questions around planning and bigger strategies sooner, and that education and awareness of, you know, I probably do need a wealth plan. I do need a tax strategy. I do need all of those things. Like, how do you envision, help me with that word, envisage that change?
Envision?
No, envisage. Yeah. I'm getting nod from production. Envisage is the correct word, people. You guys
Sure.
focus on the numbers.
Okay.
No? No one has anything?
Dean, I thought Dean was going
I
to say
thought
something.
Dean was
Dean was
saying,
gonna
Dean-
say
Dean
something.
wanted to
was
say
gonna-
something. I
You just stopped at the word, didn't you?
Yeah, you know what he wanted to? He wanted to be my thesaurus instead. I love that. Thank you.
Well, going in again, I think it's a good thing, Mel. The whole point. Well, what some of the things that I can think of is when we are talking to a client about super, and if they're moving their super, some of the things that they may want to consider now is because it's weekly, and if you're moving from fund A to fund B, sometimes because it doesn't happen overnight, right? It might take transition. By the time you notify your employer,
Yeah.
they might still be putting money into the old account.
Well, there you go.
So if you are one of those clients that are going to move money around, you want to make sure that you keep an eye on the old account, because if you don't notify your employer, they'll keep putting money in Fund A. And guess what Fund A is going to do? They're not going to return the money back because the account's closed. They'll create a new account for the client.
Yeah.
The client's going to end up with two accounts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it does create some admin burden from a client point of view. There's still things that got to be looked at.
Yeah. So I have two questions then that I'd like to ask with that said. So when people start visiting you guys and talking about super, how much of that reveals a bigger planning issue? And when super is integrated into that plan, what does a full financial strategy look like? Like, what is the opportunity?
Well, you don't really
Yes.
start a conversation
Yeah.
about super in
Correct.
general.
Yeah.
Like I said in the beginning, it's not super sexy. I have to make it sexy. talk about your lifestyle and things. But it is, the gents already alluded to how big of an asset super is. So we're now at 3 trillion, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next, well, transfer generation is another topic. It's going to be massive as well.
Yeah.
So it is a big chunk, biggest asset. So as advisors, that's part of our overall planning. We look at, we talk about what they want to achieve, talk about the goals, what's really important for the client. And then you part in that, such as tools, so your superannuation, your cash flow,
Yeah.
When you
things of that
see
nature.
the biggest issue I see with the mismatch I see is, when you see client, their working life, the income level and their lifestyle, that could be way high up, but their super balance not catching up.
Yeah.
So that just shows you that there's been issue that has been ignored, and they're not really optimizing. They're
Yeah.
doing things, but they can also really have a balanced approach, which would help them in retirement, which will help them long term.
And
It's not been optimized.
The thing is there, whilst we can do all those things and things, is how we bring that to life to the client for them to actually see it, right? And then get him engaged and being aware. So that's the issue that we face, that gap there as well.
Yeah. And would you agree that most people just associate their super purely with their income, not with their tax structure, not with their investment
Right.
structure, not with their well, obviously they do associate it with their retirement strategy, but by putting your super with all those other structures, it becomes a part of your full retirement strategy. And a lot of people think of super with income alone. Would you agree with that?
100%. It's a part of the structure that we need to look at, right? Because it's well and good to have other things going in the life, having the nicer car, bigger house, but you also need to look at what other part of the thing is. It is part of that balanced approach, holistic approach, where you have your investment property going, you have your super going. I've even seen clients who have now gotten married, but they don't have enough deposit, but they're using their super to buy a property in it.
Love it.
And
Excellent.
that could be a great investment vehicle where you buy a property and guess what? At retirement, you can take it out of super and live in it.
Love it. So what we're going to do for today is one thing with all the things that we've discussed today, one sentence each of what someone could take away in regards to super for today. So Jack, we'll hit you up first. One sentence. What's a takeaway piece of advice for anyone?
Super sexy.
Super is sexy. Okay, excellent. All right, I'll come to you last, Dean, because you look like you're thinking on it. Ricky?
Look, I would say it's not about chasing your super harder. You just have to make sure you're not getting pulled in all different directions.
Okay.
It's having a plan in place.
Yep.
And
Joining the dots.
following the plan.
Yep. Okay, great. I love that. Dean?
I would say plan for today to have an easy tomorrow.
He always has the cheesy one-liners. That's why I wanted to leave you last. All right. So my takeaway from today is that it's not about doing more with your super. It's about structuring it better, using the timing in the right places, which June is not the right time. Earlier is, because you've got to allow yourself time for that movement, whether it's through a bonus, a sacrifice, or a tax benefit, but making sure that it's all working together so that you're moving in the right direction. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much. I'm all supered out.
Thank you for having
Super
us.
sexy.
Super sexy. Done. So thank you for listening to us on the Wealth Guide podcast. It's been a whole lot of fun. The takeaway for today is it's not about doing more with your super. It's about making sure it's working in the right direction. But stay tuned for our next episode. We'll be talking about co-buying property. Is it a smart shortcut or is it a financial time bomb? Do you buy with siblings, friends, or on your own? Stay tuned.